sure.
But we'll dive in. We'll dive into today's topic, off-season training. I guess maybe we'll start off with just what makes it different. I think that's a big question that a lot of people have.
Right.
We've had that question like in our Instagram lives and things like that, where people are like, okay, well, I'm not golfing as much. What should I do? Should I double the workout volume? You know, you get a lot of people that want to just like flip their life upside down, and then the same thing, even going back into golf, or if you are still playing a little bit of golf, like what does that look like and what are the differences between the two?
Right. I think it's always so fascinating. You got people that don't want to work out at all, and then people are like, oh, I need to work out twice as much now because I'm not doing this other activity. It's like we all can just kind of meet in the middle somewhere.
There is no middle. The longer we've been doing this, there's just not middle ground.
There really
are far and few between middle ground people. It's actually about bringing people to the middle ground. That's our job.
Exactly. So I think off-season training, like one of the best ways to put it is that you are going to be training a little bit closer to like fatigue, right? And I think that the common idea out there is that in off season, it's like now we're going to pick up the heavy weights and like do all this stuff that's going to make us sore and yada, yada, yada. And yeah, we are a little bit. But in season, people are still lifting heavy weights. And I think that's a common misconception out there is when we go into these seasons, people think like, okay, now my off season is when I make all my gains. And then I'm just going to ride it out until the next off season comes around. I'm going to go play golf. I'm just going to do my thing out on the course. And I'm not really going to train in the gym in season. But then I'm going to make it all up again in the off season. You're going to become riding this roller coaster up and down. And I don't think we have to do that. So if you've been following Lift Heavy, Swing Fast, we still made gains in the summer. We're always making gains, like always. I don't see the reason that it has to be this whole up and then come crashing back down and coming back up. Like that just doesn't make sense, because then by the time you're right now, like, you're finishing up your last tournament of the year, like what do you got left if you haven't been like keeping up with it? You know what I'm saying? So to me, that doesn't make sense. And so the misconception is that now it's going to be heavy lifting time, which actually I had people lifting heavier weights in season with much lower volumes. And volume for you all out there is like sets or reps. Just think about overall total work.
Well, that's the equation is sets times reps times weight.
Right,
So
like that's the math.
If you're literally doing the math, it's just like a matter of, if you're taking a quart of milk versus a gallon, it's really like just calculating the actual amount of weight that you're lifting.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like that, we're lifting heavier, which is what I always think people do. And then what people tend to flip it around, I think, in the golf world and probably in other sports too, but golf is what my expertise is in. So one thing I'm going to introduce in our next cycle and we'll into our first phase of the off-season cycle, Lift Heavy, Swing Fast, is going to be like reps in reserve. And I think that's a really good measure of where you're at in your particular exercise that you're doing. So you can like target trying to get closer to fatigue, right? In season, I used rate of perceived exertion to try to get you to go really hard, but not to be super exhausted. Now it's like, okay, let's kind of push our muscles. Let's break them down a little bit more. Let's actually do a little bit more damage to our body. I know it sounds bad for you all out there, but you're going to recover from it because we're in the off season now. So you will be doing more total work. So higher number of either it's more sets or it's more reps. It's just more total work. The weight will actually be more like in the moderate to like 75% of your 1 rep max range versus
or less.
Yeah, less.
Honestly, 75 is kind of high.
75 is high, but like I mean you'll get there. But if we do like a set of 5 or a set of 8 or something like that, like but yeah, so it'll be, we'll call it moderate just to be nice out there. And you'll be doing more reps of that. So that's going to be more of like your off-season training. And then people think that we're not going to do as many like golf-specific movements. And I have the debate that any movement out there could be golf-specific. Like I can make an example, like a bench press, like a straight-up bench press could be golf-specific. A row, a squat, a deadlift. It doesn't have to be a deadlift with a rotation or a press with a rotation. They all can be golf-specific. And I'm using air quotes if you guys are just listening.
Well, it goes back to that function. The term functional even now is being like, I don't want to say misused because we use the term functional and I get its meaning, but I think that its meaning is getting lost in the shuffle a little bit. So it's like, if you're on a machine, doing leg curls, well, that's not as functional as a deadlift.
Right.
And it's like, and I used to be the person that said that, but it's like, then you're just like, what, like, why? Because I think the best way actually, the videos that have been going around on social media of the guys that do, and girls that do, like, if we lived our life the way that we trained. And it's like, the most recent one that I saw was the guy doing almost like he was doing battle ropes, but he was making his bed. And it's funny because it's like, yeah, like LOL, like how functional is really any exercise?
Right.
Truly, like we don't walk around getting the mail doing like an RDL. Like it'd be hilarious if we did. But
or picking our golf ball up out of the hole, like with a single dead leg deadlift, like perfectly, like.
But also, like, obviously, I understand completely that it's applicable to understand like how to hinge and how to use your body, etc. But it's like the same thing with just specific to golf, where it's like, okay, like no, it doesn't have to be a golfing, mimicking the golf swing for it to be applicable for golf. It's just like, are we correcting imbalances? Are we getting stronger and healthier and less injury prone? Like those are all very valid reasons to be doing whatever exercise if it's improving your health and your body.
Right.
Full stop.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I just had this question recently. Someone was like, hey, I just started a hypertrophy program. Hypertrophy is like a bodybuilding type program, enlargement of muscle size. Like, what can I do to add on? Or let me rephrase that. He actually asked, could you just give me some golf specific exercises to add on to my hypertrophy program? And I said, no, because like that doesn't really exist. You know, yeah, sure, I could tell you to add in rotation, but just adding in rotation doesn't make it a golf-specific exercise.
That's right.
The programming is what makes it a golf-specific program.
Yes.
Right? Like, are we training you to be mobile for the golf swing? I mean, and that mobility for the golf swing also just carries over into what you need to do in your everyday life, too.
Yeah.
Now, the golf swing is more unique, and you do need some different ranges of motion to do a really nice-looking and consistent and solid golf swing. But that's still... it doesn't mean that someone that doesn't play golf can't do those too.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of the programming. You know, golf specific training is going to have more speed into it, right? So like more jumps and slams and things like that than you will see, a bodybuilder do. You probably won't see a bodybuilder do a bunch of jumps and ball slams, stuff like that. Actually, there are some guys out there talking about the benefits of hypertrophy and sprinting and jumping.
Yeah, there
and
are.
things
There
like
are.
that. But,
you're right. We both take that back.
Right.
There are.
But for the most part, you are not going to see that. I don't think Arnold was doing that back in the day.
Right.
And then more specific strength. I mean, focused. And then I definitely during off season, I'm going to throw in more conditioning, just to get people that, get that sweaty, burn some calories, like, just really, get your heart rate up, that stuff that you need. And I think off season training is a lot of fun, but that also doesn't mean if you live in a warm climate area that you cannot do off-season training. Like you're not just going to do in-season training all the time. You have to make variables in your training to get your body to adapt to new stimuluses that you're giving it.
Yeah, this is back to just programming 101. Like again, outside of the sport of golf, we should be changing up our programming seasonally, generally speaking.
Yeah. Whether
it's every 6 weeks or at least every 3 months of cycling through different, strength cycles, longer periods of rest, heavier weights.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing where you would probably not want to do that for a prolonged period of time because you're just going to get diminishing returns. You should absolutely change it up.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, like, I think we all get bored. Like our minds can sometimes be like, God damn it. Like I can only do this for so long or however many weeks. Like I'm done. We've all got, if you've followed a program long enough, and you're doing it right, you get to the point where you're like, all right, it's time for the next season. Like it's time for the next thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I can really remember that when we were doing 5x5s.
Yes.
I did 5x5 training for over a year straight.
Yeah.
And what they tell you when you do 5x5s is when you can no longer do a weight for 5 sets of 5 reps, knock it down to 3 and take longer rest periods. So if you're someone that gets bored easy, like that is not the program for you, because now it's telling you to do like less work, take longer rest periods. I mean, they would tell you to take like up to 5 minutes between like a heavy set of squats.
And like literally go eat some Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah. Or drink milk is what.
Yeah.
No, that's funny. But no, like, I mean, that's what I would do. And luckily I worked at a gym where I was literally, I was a manager. So like I had like emails to go respond to, and my office was right in front of the deadlift platform. So I'd go in there and I'd write an email, go back out, do my deadlift, and come back in. But, that's not going to be the cup of tea for a lot of people.
Well, plus not every, and we understand. I mean, honestly, I think we've coach enough people to know, like, most people don't have 3 hours to train, or not even 90 minutes. Is asking a lot of people to like do their mobility and do the things and drive to the gym and drive home and take a shower. And
100%.
it's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot. So there's so many things that factor into all of that. And it's why, again, like sometimes when your kids are in school versus out of school, like your training, a lot of parents change up their training and their timing and things like that. And so I think just big picture is like that seasonality is very, very important and very, very effective. And I think another thing to stress, and I think it's worth bringing up on this podcast, is that another reason why you can kind of ramp up the, I guess, intensity, so to speak, in off season is because there is the lack of golfing as much or getting out on the golf course. And because of that, you have more time to rest and recover, which is actually when your body is making gains.
Right.
That is the day. I've been in my DMs a lot with different people. I don't know if it's just because of the time of year or what, and I've been posting a lot more about like training a lot like less days and taking more rest, and also like I've been feeling like pretty good the last couple of weeks, and I've gotten some messages about that. And it's like, dude, the more that you lean into recovery and rest, it doesn't take long to realize like how much better your workouts are.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I mean, just, it doesn't take long. This isn't something you have to wait months and months to see. It's like, whoa, once you like let your body just kind of like, you tune in and you're like, whoa, I'm going pretty hard in the gym, but like on my rest days, I'm also resting a lot more. I'm not golfing for 5 hours and drinking Bud Lights or whatever, or just generally not getting those extra steps or whatever it is that's taking up your time. You're getting the recovery in, which is making your workouts that much better.
Right.
Which again, like you're getting a better stimulus. So you're able to push your body further and all of the things that come along with that. So I think that that's just like it's just a huge value add.
For sure. One of the goals when you do in season, right, is that you want to spare yourself from being sore. So like you still, the intensity can still be high in your workouts, but when you keep the volume so low, you're not going to be sore, so you can go play. So yeah, like right now you can like get a little sore and it's going to be okay because you're probably not out playing so much.
Yes.
And if you are, it's going to be, you're going to get lucky and get a good day when the winter rolls around.
Yes.
So yeah, that's a very good point, that we can recover and focus on that and like all those priorities and getting proper nutrition to really maximize our training.
Yeah, I get that question too of like, well, what do you do on your rest days? And it's like, it's easy to be like, rest, LOL. But it's like, okay, I get it, like valid question. But however, I think it is a good opportunity to be like, cool, I get that 90 minutes back to myself for the day. I can meal prep, spend more time on nutrition, maybe I have more time and make like a more nutritious breakfast that morning. Like I really do like those mornings where it's like, instead of going to train, it's like, well, I can dive in on like a really good breakfast and prep my lunch for the day too. Or it is just like maybe looking at my macros for the week, or spending more time with your kids or your dog, or going for a long walk. I think like cleaning and tidying up around the house is something that I personally enjoy, but it's like really nice again when you like have that extra, even if it's like 1 or 2 extra rest days, you get those few hours back in your week to like just allocate to something else. And I think that it's just important to do that and recognize that those can still be productive hours for people that kind of get a little edgy when they're like taking more time off the gym. It's just like there's plenty of other things that you could be doing.
Right.
That also can benefit your health, your well-being, your household, like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and then there's just, I'll go back to like some more like fun things about like off-season training is one of the things that will, make you need to recover more is that you do different phases of training. So like our first thing we're going to do when we get back into the off-season cycle of lift heavy swing fast is eccentric focus training. So, it's going to be like the slow portion on the way down. And that's actually where you get sore. That's where you do a lot of the damage to your muscles. So like I try to focus on in season doing the concentric. So for example, eccentric in a squat is if you grab the barbell, put it on your back and start lowering down to the bottom position. The lowering down was your eccentric. The bottom's isometric. You do a slight pause there. You come back up. It's the concentric focus. So during in season, concentric because it doesn't really make you sore. It'll make you explosive and fast and powerful and things like that. And then first phase of off season is going to be the eccentric focus. So a lot of people really hate those because they're hard. It's slow on the way down, and that's what's going to make you sore.
Oh, but it's like cardio. I mean, I think that it's
brutal.
This is coming from a cardio junkie, I would consider myself, and it's where I'm glad that I have the cardio.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, that's where it's beneficial to be doing making sure we're getting in like our walks and our zone 2 cardio and doing that conditioning, because it sets you up for success for programs like this where you're doing 10 reps or slow reps or 15 reps. Cause it's like, fuck, time under tension is like tripled or more. It's a lot.
I think it does a lot for your mental toughness and discipline.
Yes.
Because it is so easy to cheat, just going down. Like you're just like, oh, that was 3 seconds. No, it wasn't. Yes. 3 seconds is a pretty long time, and that's going to be that's what I'm working on right now for the program that's coming out in 2 weeks. For when you hear this podcast from as I sit here right now, and I'm gonna like make sure I write in the blog like, hey, like set a timer, see how long, just a body weight squat, see how long 3 seconds is on the way down. Like if you're listening to this and you can stand up and do it right now, like check it out. It's a long time. You go 3, 2, 1, and you're thinking about putting a barbell on your back with a decent amount of weight on it. It's hard.
I think videoing yourself actually is, as much as like videoing yourself at the gym is controversial, but sometimes it can be challenging. However, I think that's the best way, because I'm so guilty of this, where you sometimes really feel like you're moving so slow because it's heavy and it's hard, and then you watch your video and you're like, oh my God, like that looks normal.
That was so fast.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, okay, that's not it, So it's just like kind of good to check yourself in that way. I mean, videoing yourself has a lot of value for other things too in your form, but I actually think for timing, just getting like one set filmed can be really helpful for you to be like, oh, I'm moving so quick.
Yeah. Speaking of filming, so I'm working with a golf coach right now. His Instagram handle is Crafty Golf. You guys go check him out. And I said something to him the other day. I texted him. I was like, Coach, my driver's terrible. Like, what's going on? He goes, video it. It's not magic. And I was like, son of a bitch, you're right. It's not magic. I'm literally just doing something wrong. And like, I don't know why. Like, that's so like, duh. But that hit me, and I thought about it for a second. I was like, this fucking guy, he's so right. It's not magic.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
It's so simple.
Well, that's how I feel about tracking food. I know we come back to this a lot. And I think that, again, in off season, it can be a really good time to focus on your nutrition, actually, because you might have, again, that extra time in your week. But track your food. Mm-hmm. How much are you eating? Be honest with yourself. That's what it's really about. When you're videoing yourself and looking back at the film, you can't lie and be like, yeah, my hips aren't going that way. Yeah, they fucking are. Look at this line. It's like, duh. Well, it's like, not a big deal. No judgment. Seriously, you can be objective about the fact that you ate 6 pieces of pizza one day and you forgot that you did that. But now that you're tracking it, Right. So it's like, just stay objective. Just stay objective. And working out it's the same way. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, another good thing, obviously checking your form is when you do like eccentrics, like, this will be the first phase we're going to start with, but it really does make you focus on your form, because you can, if you like, I'll just keep using the squat because Squat's sitting here on my lap.
Our dog's name is Squat.
Our dog's name is Squat. Like, it's just, squats we love the squat, but like you can get through a lot of your faults if you just speed through it and you can't see them or no one can tell. You just drop down to the bottom and bounce back up. It's like, I couldn't even see what happened there. It went by so fast.
My strength went up a lot when I started doing like just eccentric bottom pause squats, all of that stuff, because like you're just putting like 95 pounds on your back and you're like, holy shit, this is so hard and slow. And yeah, you just start to feel every like nook and cranny, but like there's also something really cool and powerful about that, because I think it really works on your mind muscle connection
100%.
too.
And the toughness, like, I just got done playing a 4-ball tournament. Like I said, made it to the 3rd round. Very proud of myself. But golf is, you are so in your head.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone knows this. You're on the range. You can make some of the best looking golf shots of your life, and you can just have fun and work the ball from left to right. And I'm going to hit that target, and it's no big deal. And then when you get out there on the course, and when you're playing in a competitive round of golf, it's a total game changer. And it makes you tougher. If you keep doing that, you get better. And then I think that carries over to the gym too. Like if I do this hard movement and I have to sit and go down for 3 seconds with X amount of weight on my back in this back squat and keep my core tight and keep my feet grounded and my knees out and do all this and make it great, that's going to carry over to everything you have in your life.
Yes.
Not just golf, not just fitness, like, your job or maybe dealing with your kids. I shouldn't say that. I don't know about kids, but it is just going to make you better all around.
Well, I'm a big champion of how you show up in one thing is how you show up in everything. And it gets a little woo-woo and it gets a little like that inspo-y or whatever, but
I like the woo-woo.
I like the woo-woo too. And this is where like I like working out in the morning, because it does kind of give you that mindset shift first thing. that's a big reason, again, for people that are like, well, what's the best time of day to work out? We talk about that a lot. It's whenever you're going to show up for yourself. But if you can just get in that mindset in the morning, that's what working out can do for you. If it's the hardest part of your day, I think about that a lot too, where I'm like, fuck, this is hard, but it's like, this might be the hardest part of my day. And it's 6:00 in the morning. It's like, like what else is going to come at me today? And it really does feel like that when you kind of start to get into a rhythm and you're starting to, oh, I'm really learning how to push myself and how far I can actually go. Whoa, this is like impacting my like mental health in a really good way.
Set you up for success.
Sets you up for success for sure. And for people out there, yeah, I mean, whatever it is that you're struggling with, maybe you are struggling. Maybe you are good at pushing yourself and maybe you need to push back. Maybe you need to rest more. That can be challenging too. Do the hard shit.
Right.
Do the thing that is hard for you. Sometimes it isn't about pushing your body harder. Some of us need to like step off the gas a little bit. So,
and for our athletes, I've only had a couple of them like say this, and I have to do a little bit of educating, because in-season training with that lower amount of total work, some people take it as that's an easy workout, and it shouldn't be. Like, your workouts can always be as challenging as you make them and what kind of intensity you bring. So to your point, like, yeah, you need to show up. And yeah, off season will be the workouts that, for the volume junkies out there, like, are going to be more your style. But as long as you bring it to every session, you're going to be setting yourself up for success.
Yeah, 100%. And I think like, anytime that also it's important to know, anytime you shift, you're in a different period during your programming. So going from, in season to off season, give yourself that week or two to adjust to. I think that can be really shocking. And again, coming from like having done a lot of programs at this point, like it's always like, and it should be like a shift. Going from one method to another is like, your CNS is like waking up to a different type of stimulus. So I think it's important to, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, just be patient with it. Be patient with that first week where you're like, this is uncomfortable and new and different. Oh, because people don't like change. They're like, oh, I liked my 3x3s or whatever. And now we're doing, give it a second. That's the point.